Hi everybody, this is a black and red Arcane Bombardment deck for the Explorer format that lets us reuse our powerful instants and sorceries and lets us select the right lesson from Strixhaven for the situation that we happen to be in. We're playing a few more permanents than normal. This kind of harkens back to one of the earliest Arcane Bombardment decks that I created and throws in a couple of new things that have come out since then, but we're really kind of diving into the lessons theme here and just grinding our opponents out the old-fashioned way. So let's go through it a little bit. We've got 4 copies of Arcane Bombardment, of course. Helps us reuse all of our stuff each time we cast an instant and sorcery. Then we've got Burn Down the House and Invoke Despair. Really some of the best black and red spells we could be playing. Now the foundation of this deck to get us started is a little bit different. So we've got 4 copies of Eyetwitch and 4 copies of Shambling Ghast. Some of you might remember these, but they play really well with our next card, Deadly Dispute. This is kind of like a little mini big score that demands a little bit of an extra sacrifice, not just a discarding of a card. No, it wants an artifact or a creature to be sacrificed. A nice little boost of card draw and treasure production in the early game, and because we're also running our favorite big score in here, we're going to have some treasures floating around even in the mid to late game once this all gets going. Now, because we're an Explorer, we're playing Fatal Push, one of the best pieces of removal out there in the format. And we've also got a couple of copies of Sheoldred's Edict, a kind of newer all-star card that really helps us remove the right thing that we want to remove at the right time. I'm also playing 1 copy of Valki, God of Lies. The early version of Valki is really nice because we can look at our opponent's hand and just kind of get an idea of what we're doing. I don't know about you, but I'm not really too familiar with the Explorer format on a daily basis. I play a lot of Standard, so it's nice to be able to take a quick peek at the opponent's hand and then plan out our next couple of turns after that, even if Valki happens to die early. And then once we get going, if we're able to play the flip side of Tibalt, that's a fantastic way to finish off pretty much any opponent. I don't care what format you're playing in. So 1 copy of Valki in here just for good measure. Rounding out the list, we've got some black and red dual lands, a nice assortment in here. We've got some Ziatora's Proving Ground because that goes nicely with a couple of our sideboard cards. We've got Containment Breach, of course, and Pest Summoning. Don't really need the green for that one, but Containment Breach is nice because there's a red lesson that we can put in here that destroys an artifact or does 1 damage. I'm forgetting the name. Containment Breach is almost always better. We can get a pest out of it. We can put pests to good use with our Deadly Dispute. And we've got enough other stuff floating around in here that the 1 damage mode on that red spell isn't really too necessary. So Containment Breach, top notch. We've got some environmental sciences in here. If we sacrifice an Eyetwitch in the early game, this can help us smooth out our mana a little bit. Necrotic Fumes is nice searchable removal. Love having removal that we can go get with a learn card. Got some Pest Summoning to gum up the ground and end up creating more and more pests as we repeatedly cast this and hunt for specimens with Arcane Bombardment. Expanded Anatomy can help us finish a game a little faster, and it also gives a creature vigilance, so we get to keep a blocker back too if we're kind of low on life. Then we've got Introduction to Prophecy for a little extra card draw, and of course classic Mascot Exhibition to just throw a big haymaker and hopefully pick this up under Arcane Bombardment. So now let's get over and see a few games with this deck on the Ranked Explorer ladder. I'll be with you for some commentary, of course, but as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. All right, this looks as good as ever. We've got a couple of spells for the early game. Opponent's going to start themselves off with an Elvish Mystic. And we'll just lay down our Proving Ground to get going here. All right. Opponent likely on some kind of elf strategy. Hard to tell at this point. Like I said, I don't play a whole lot of Explorer. Let's get our hunt for specimens going. We're going to create a pest and might just want to make more pests if they're going to have a ground game. Yeah, I think that's the way. We're okay on lands. Normally you can take an environmental sciences to kind of smooth things out. Circle of the Moon Druid. All right. Well, let's get our second Proving Ground down. Keep 2 mana up. We've got a Sheoldred's Edict, which isn't the greatest, but we do have this Deadly Dispute, which is going to be nice. Let's put this pest in front of the Circle of the Moon Druid. Deadly Dispute before damage. We'll draw 2 and create a treasure. We get Fatal Push and Burn Down the House to go with our Arcane Bombardment. Elvish Visionary coming down for the opponent. Going to draw them a card and spread their board a little bit wider. Llanowar Elves. Well, I think the choice is clear here. Burn down the house on damage. Let's clear away that board. Make our opponent start over. So now we're kind of set up to go right into turn 5. We're a little short on Invoke Despair, but I think that's the plan into Arcane. All right. Well, good game. Sometimes I like to think my reputation precedes me, but sometimes people got stuff to do. All right. We've got Eyetwitch here. Opponent with a Temple of Deceit. We're going to get in with our Eyetwitch, get down our second land. We've got 2 copies of Fatal Push, Deadly Dispute, and Big Score. Feeling confident we can handle the early game. Alright, opponent's going to try to Blood Chief's Thirst this Eyetwitch, so in response we will sacrifice it to Deadly Dispute. We get to learn because the Eyetwitch is going to the graveyard, so let's get Environmental Sciences just in case. And Ziatora's Proving Ground can come down for us on our turn. We will just Environmental Sciences. Get that into the graveyard and pick out a swamp here to go with our, hopefully, eventual copies of Invoke Despair. Oh, Ashiok. Haven't seen that in a while. That is not good for us, I will not lie. Ashiok going to mill us for 4 and then exile our graveyard. So, not really a thing we can invest in while Ashiok is on the board and set up our future bombardment turns. Opponent going to Temple of Deceit here, scry, take a look, keep 1 on the top. Activate old Ashiok again. Oh, they've seen bombardment now. They kind of know what they're up against. Ashiok, a great card against us, and we are sitting on no answer, so let's go Big Score. Decisions. Let's discard this Deadly Dispute instead. So, alright, we get a Hunt for Specimens in the land. Our opponent's looking like a control deck, and if we've got like multiple copies of Fatal Push in the grave and essentially no targets on board, that was a good draw. Hold on. Yeah, I think we can do this. Let's Invoke Despair, try to get rid of this Ashiok. We pick up Burn Down the House. Ashiok is down. We will then... Oh, nope, already played a land for turn. Never mind. We'll at least get this Eyetwitch down. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so many Fatal Pushes. We don't want to discard a Fatal Push to an opponent that doesn't have a lot of creatures on board, if we can help it. I mean, sometimes it's going to happen. Opponent Lightning Strikes our Eyetwitch here. We get Mascot Exhibition, since I think I can smell where this one's going. Let's discard the Proving Ground, just trying to avoid discarding these cards that are not going to have any targets against this opponent. I want our bombardment pickups to be solid. Opponent with a Nicol Bolas. They will draw. We will exile a Fatal Push. We get Bombardment number 2. We've got an Invoke Despair, a Big Score, and a Deadly Dispute down there. So if we can bombard, it's gonna have a good pickup. But I think we got to clear the way first. Do we Devils or damage? I think we damage here. Let's try to just clear the way a little bit more before we lay down bombardment. Okay. Ashiok gonna come down again. Mills us again. Clears out our graveyard again. We draw Eyetwitch. Well, we've got 7 mana available. Here's what we need to do. Hunt for Specimens, go pick up Necrotic Fumes. We're left with a Pest that we can then sack to the Fumes, exiling this Ashiok. You can't play with that many Ashioks, really. Like, it's good. I mean, obviously one of my favorite Planeswalkers, but Can't be that good in Explorer, right? I don't know. Maybe it's a hedge against Greasefang decks. Opponent with a different flavor of Ashiok now. Going to make some tokens, try to make us exile more cards. Well, now's a window for Arcane Bombardment. This Ashiok can't hurt my graveyard. And we have a target for Fatal Push as well, so we can activate as soon as Bombardment came down. Well, we pick up the Necrotic Fumes, but that was a very real danger. Ashiok gonna make a token creature again. Just passes here. Oh, and we've got Sheoldred's Edict. Nice. Let's Fatal Push, though. Put these cards to use while I can. Pull some things up into Bombardment. We will learn and get Pest Summoning. Opponent decides to respond with a Murderous Rider on our Pest. I guess trying to protect Ashiok here? That's okay. Well, little do they know, we have a Sheoldred's Edict in hand for when our opponent tries to go to their turn and ultimate Ashiok for 7. And we will get an Arcane Bombardment activation out of this. Make them sack a Planeswalker, and let's see what we pick up here. It's probably going to be Fatal Push, right? We get Hunt for Specimens and Easy Cast. We will get, let's get the draw spell, Intro to Prophecy. Oh, I get it. It keeps asking me because we've got to stop on our opponent's upkeep here. Thought they had a response. Opponent just going to play out that Murderous Rider that they showed us previously. We draw Shambling Ghast. The great thing about these Shambling Ghasts and Eyetwitches is that they really don't clog up our graveyard too much. We can get some utility out of them, and then they just kind of stand aside as Bombardment does its thing. Let's see here. Well, definitely hunting for Specimens. We can Sheoldred's Edict. Make sure we pick... Oh, no. Well, Fatal Push is here to clean up. I do that all the time, selecting the wrong mode of Sheoldred's Edict. And we'll just pass on the Fumes. Don't want to sack my Pest. Oh, and the Fatal Push doesn't work either, I guess, because nothing's gone to the graveyard, and Murderous Rider is too expensive. It is okay. There's a lot of moving parts to Magic the Gathering. And as you can probably tell, I'm not too worried about this board state right now. We've got a number of things under our Bombardment. More cards in hand than our opponent. I'm confident I can recover from a stupid mistake like that. Let's Deadly Dispute on this Pest. End of our opponent's turn, getting a little activation going. Let's see if we can make up for past errors. We'll Sheoldred's Edict on the correct mode. Hunt for Specimens again. And we'll pick up the only card left in the sideboard, Containment Breach. That Murderous Rider will be put on the bottom of our opponent's library. We pick up a Deadly Dispute and a Haunted Ridge. Alright, let's play out this Ridge. What's the plan here? Think let's put some counters on a creature. They may respond with some removal, but that's fine. It's really just here to activate our big red enchantment. We pull up Intro to Prophecy. That's great. Hunt for Specimens again. Get some more pests going. That's all we can really do on this board, but that's fine. So we are out of lessons in the sideboard. We have to discard a card and draw a card. I believe that's always an option with lessons. If you don't want to pull something out of your sideboard, you can do a little looting. Intro to Prophecy, not really finding us anything good. Opponent will use their Lightning Strike on the target of this anatomy lesson here. let's get over to combat then. Attack for 2. Play out a Shambling Ghast. Opponent has some kind of response in hand. Play out Shambling Ghast number 2. And just building up a threatening board of little pest creatures. Opponent playing out Murderous Rider, realizing now that that's not a good value to target our creatures with removal. We'll hit our opponent with this Invoke Despair to get a Bombardment activation, and get this card in the graveyard to pick up in the future. Let's Edict on the correct mode this time. Expanded Anatomy, we'll put that on a zombie. Intro to Prophecy, look at some cards. And lastly, Hunt for Specimens to pick up a pest and loot away a land. Alright, opponent sees the stack of stuff. Good game. Well, this is a nice starting hand right here. We're going to lead off with a Blackcleave Cliffs into Shambling Ghast. Classic start in previous standard format. Opponent with a Aetherborn, so this is likely a mono-black, sort of aggro-y to mid-range type of list. Let's go ahead and take care of that with a Fatal Push. Their future creatures may not be able to be pushed. And we can still play our Blackcleave Cliffs this turn, untapped if we want to. We draw Bombardment, fantastic news for us. We'll get in with the Ghast, play the Cliffs, and the plan now is to most likely end of turn Deadly Dispute on this Ghast. Opponent gonna hit our Proving Ground with a Field of Ruin. Could be thinking we don't play basics in this deck, but that is a deck building requirement I pretty much still do all the time, even though Field of Ruin is not that played anymore in Standard. Let's Deadly Dispute this Ghast. Yeah, now that I think about it, I pretty much include basics for that reason, even in heavily multicolored decks to this day because of that card. Let's see. Yeah, I was thinking Deadly Dispute might be free, but no, we'll just save it. So now we're up to 5 mana thanks to that Dispute. We don't draw a land, so we can't go straight into Bombardment. Would be great versus this mono-black player. Although I can't imagine they're not running Invoke Despair in a deck like this. Kind of curious what the white is for, though. Opponent gonna Sheoldred's Edict. Well, in response to that, let's Deadly Dispute this Ghast. We will get a treasure and draw 2 cards. Pick up Invoke Despair. Can't imagine Edict is the greatest thing to use on a Shambling Ghast, unless you're out of options. Well, 4 treasures and 4 lands means I think we can safely Arcane Bombardment. Nice thing about Sheoldred's Edict on our end is that we can use it on an empty board, doesn't need a target to cast, and it's an instant. So even if our opponent does not... Okay. Well, talking about standard formats of the past, Lolth Spider Queen for our opponent. Looking to make some spiders and take over the board that way. Well, as mentioned, let's use this Sheoldred's Edict to take care of the Planeswalker part of this puzzle. Leaving 2 spiders behind, but we've got big score. So let's get rid of Burn Down the House, put that in the graveyard, pick it up in the future, hopefully. Draw a few things, see if we can't get an instant to play on our opponent's turn. Nope, just a tap land, unfortunately. We could Hunt for Specimens, but we're still at 20. I'm not too scared of these spiders. Opponent kind of switching to more of a control angle from what I was expecting. Opponent casting Go Blank on us, so we're going to have to discard 2 cards, and then they will exile our graveyard. Well, say goodbye to that Burn Down the House, unfortunately, but we can rebuild. We can do it. I believe in us, in our community. Oh, okay. Definitely now. We will Invoke Despair. Unfortunately, pick up nothing, but we can Deadly Dispute on one of these treasures. I might as well do it twice. So, before casting Invoke Despair, we managed to draw 4 and create 2 treasures. Then Invoke Despair and draw 2 more. Really frustrating when our deck doesn't do anything. Good game. All right, back here for another one with lessons for Rakdos Arcane Bombardment. Little land heavy, but we got early interaction, which is always nice to see, as our opponent looks to be on mono red, which is a scary thing in Explorer. I mean, I think it's a scary thing. I'm sure y'all will tell me if it's not. We've got a Ziatora's Proving Ground to start us off. Making pests might be valuable if they've got an aggro ground-based game plan. We can throw a bunch of pests in front of things. Maybe make attacking a little awkward. Opponent with a Voldaren Epicure into a Play with Fire at us. So they will scry and put 1 to the bottom. We're sitting at 16 now. Let's get our cliffs down. And I think let's do Hunt for Specimens. Let's grab Pest Summoning and just really clog up this board. And again, investing in the future. Should we live to play Arcane Bombardment, Pest Summoning is going to be kind of nice to repeatedly cast. Opponent flips their Kumano, goes into a Rabbit Battery, and Reinforced Ronin. So this is actually pretty close to a standard list. Alright, attacks with the Ronin, Kumano, and the Epicure. Let's just take that. No favorable blocks for now. We can keep up this Fatal Push, I think. Or do we make pests? No, let's keep up Fatal Push. If they have any like creature enhancing things, we might be able to catch them off guard. Opponent going to Thrill a Possibility. So they've got a Ronin and 2 other cards. Chooses to equip the Rabbit Battery onto the Monks. That's going to make it a 3/3. But luckily, Fatal Push only counts mana value, so we can actually save a little bit more damage too. Alright, Fatal Push on the Monk. We'll block the Epicure with the Pest. Rabbit Battery just falls off the Monk. Doesn't get to attack this turn. I think now's a good time. Let's play this Blood Crypt tapped and save the life, and then Pest Summoning can do some chumping. Great to get that Kumano off the board last turn. Save the life gain effect from our pests and allow that to happen. Opponent with a Lightning Strike to our face brings us to 8. We'll see if they Ronin here. Well, putting the battery on the Epicure first. Last bit of mana goes to the Ronin. Attacking for 5. We're going to double block this Ronin. Hasty creatures are often the downfall of many a control deck. Especially hasty creatures that bounce back to your hand at the end of turn. Makes them extra hard to hit with sorcery speed removal, which we kind of have going on here. Well, we can Ghast, which is kind of weak. We can burn down the house. We can make some Devil Chump blockers. That'll cover a lot of bases since they seem to be mostly creature-oriented. Opponent with another Lightning Strike to our face brings us to 4. What is their last card? It was a Mountain. They're going to toss that away to a Blood token, get another draw, play another Kumano. That will take us to 3. And they will try to get in with the Epicure. Let's just block with one for now. Hindsight, we probably should have just killed that with Devil activations. So we can Bombardment. We've got enough blockers for 2 creatures, as long as they don't trample over. We're dead to any burn anyway. Okay, another Kumano. Opponent empty-handed still. Keeping the pressure on. They're going to attack with the Epicure. Let's finally take this opportunity to double block. Devils go down. We'll do their extra damage to the Epicure and the opponent, leaving them with just a Rabbit Battery and a couple of etchings about to flip over. Well, let's use Invoke Despair to kind of clean this up a little bit and activate Arcane Bombardment. Nice, we get a Hunt for Specimens. That's going to give us a Pest. And do we Containment Breach or do we Environmental Sciences? I think it's Sciences. Question is, do we do it now? Let's see what they sacrifice to this Despair first. Okay. All right, we're at 2. We've seen a lot of lightning strikes from our opponent. Seen several lightning strikes from our opponent. Let's Environmental Sciences to bring us to 4. We just get a land and go up to 4. So if they draw any kind of spell-based burn, it's going to go right over this Pest. And there's a lot of things that can do 2 damage. Fewer things that can do 4. Alright, they pick up an Epicure here, so it takes us back down to 3. Alright, Kumano tries to attack. We will block with this Pest. And unfortunately, no life gain trigger because that takes the creature right to exile. Let's get down our... Now let's cycle this away first, see what our options are. Then make some decisions. Alright, still Ghast. We just picked up a land. I think we wait to dispute. Opponent with a Simian Sling. Really on this equipment theme here. We've got Despair, Pest Summoning, Fatal Push, and Burn Down the House down in our graveyard. Opponent puts the Sling onto the Epicure. Let's see here. No, wait. Yeah, we should go to blockers first. And I think we can do that little blockers trick. All right. Deadly Dispute on the blocker. Kumano won't damage us. That's interesting. Why are we getting the activation on this Ghast? Huh. Anyway, we pick up Pest Summoning. That'll let us fetch Containment Breach out of the board. Well, the Pest Summoning, well, the Hunt for Specimens will. Fortunately, the Epicure does get in and bring us to 1. All right. We've got Edict, Breach, and Deadly Dispute. Let's Breach on this Kumano. Get our life gain triggers back to our Pests. We can Fatal Push something. Let's do the Epicure. Pest Summoning and Hunt for Specimens. Going to gum up the ground. And then Mascot Exhibition. I think it's time to pull you from the board and see if we can't convert over to some kind of finishing move before our opponent picks up enough burn to get rid of us. Let's attack with these Pests. If they want to block, that's fine with me. We need the life. Okay. Play our land for turn. Let's, rather than play Exhibition, let's hold up an instant. We've got a couple of ways of sacrificing creatures. Unfortunately, Sheoldred's Edict, not one of them. Has to be an opponent. I was thinking we might have an outside case where we could sacrifice a couple of pests to our own things, but... Alright, opponent discarding the Ronin. Really looking for something to throw at our face and dodge these pests. Nope, just has to get in with the Simian. Let's see. Let's Deadly Dispute. At least gain a little bit of life while we can. Sacrificing a pest and activating Bombardment. Oh, there we go. We pick up Invoke Despair. We will Pest Summoning and hunt for Specimens. We should have Fatal Pushed. It would have been more damage and more cards. Well, we pick up Expanded Anatomy from a sideboard. Like I said, complicated game. We pick up a few things off the top. We got Eyetwitch and Fatal Push. That'll be helpful in dodging creature-based removal. We will get in with our pests, though, and finish our opponent off. Good game. All right, looking here, a little bit land light, but this Eyetwitch Deadly Dispute combo at the beginning of the game, it's really nice for smoothing out your mana. We'll Blackcleave Cliffs into an Eyetwitch, responding to our opponent's Evolve Sleeper on their turn 1. They decide to activate the Sleeper. Make it a 2/2. We will not block. I would very much like this creature to live so that we can sacrifice it to Deadly Dispute. Just looking to slow down the game till we can get to turn 5 and 6. Obviously some very strong plays in our deck. Let's do the blocking trick and sacrifice the creature with Deadly Dispute. Creature is considered blocked, so we take no damage, but we still get to sacrifice it to Dispute and get all the benefits. Let's grab an Environmental Sciences, just in case we don't have the lands. And let's pass. We could have Fatal Pushed on the end of our opponent's turn, but we can wait until they try to sink a little bit more mana into it, which they might do at the end of our turn here. Oh, they're going to do it now. All right, well then let's Fatal Push now. Because at least if we respond to this activation, they won't get a card out of the deal. Whereas if we keep waiting, they're going to start drawing cards out of it. It's a bad deal for me. All right, so we got our swamp. Let's see what flavor of mono-black opponent this is. The Nighthawk Scavenger. So that's a little bit more of the black deck I'm used to seeing in Explorer. We could go into Despair, but I kind of want to see what's going on. Let's try to Valki here. Valki just kind of a fun card in this deck. Does it lend itself to our strategy? Not really. Opponent with a Sheoldred the Apocalypse and a Gifted Aetherborn. We'll grab Sheoldred on the off chance that this lives, but opponent has 2 pieces of removal in hand, so Valki not long for this world, and we don't have enough mana to activate it anyway and make it dodge that march. Let's hunt for Specimens, pick up Necrotic Fumes, help deal with this scavenger, maybe future creatures. Opponent's going to march on Valki. That's fine. They're going to get Sheoldred back. 1 mana short from playing it this turn, and they'll attack us with the Scavenger for 4, going up to 25. Didn't play the Aetherborn there. They must be keeping up Hero's Downfall. I think we spooked him with Valki. Well, since we know what's up, let's get Bombardment down. They don't have a way in hand to deal with it. Their best play is Sheoldred, so we're looking at... Might as well get in here. So we're looking at 4 damage from the Scavenger and a trigger from Sheoldred. That'll take us to 8, and then we can start cleaning up with Invoke Despair. Opponent attacks with the Nighthawk. Goes up to 28. No Sheoldred. Alright then. Invoke Despair, that'll likely clear off this Aetherborn. But I kind of want to get this in our graveyard to pick up. Just a back-breaking card if we can pull this under Bombardment and keep reusing it. Oh, we get Fatal Push anyway. Great. Let's Fatal Push the Aetherborn. Now they're forced to sacrifice the Scavenger. And we pick up 2 cards, bring them down to 24. Let's lay this land and play an Eyetwitch. I don't think that deck plays with any hasty creatures, but nice to have this resource on board for future things like Deadly Dispute, Necrotic Fumes. Opponent gonna Hero's Downfall on the Pest. Really scared to take any damage from their lofty perch of 24 life. Oh, there's a classic. Blood on the Snow. I should have known by the snow-covered swamps. Let's pick up Mascot Exhibition then as our Eyetwitch goes to the graveyard. We will play this land here. Let's see. Shambling Ghast. Then we can use our Necrotic Fumes. We're high enough on mana, so sacrificing that, exiling it, doesn't matter. We get Environmental Sciences. Not the best, but might as well take it. It's a little bit of life. No need to Fatal Push anything. And we will go get a Swamp. Alright, board is clear. Opponent left with a Sheoldred. Decides to just hold on to it there. I think we might have spooked him into thinking we're some kind of much more effective control deck than we are. Let's see. We could big score and toss the exhibition, or we could just play this exhibition. Seems like the better play. We'll get a Hunt for Specimens and Environmental Sciences going. Pick out a mountain. Get up to 15 here. Hunt for Specimens. Let's pick up Intro to Prophecy. And then flood the board with an Exhibition of Mascots. There's the Invoke Despair. Let's sacrifice our worst creature. Fortunately, Bombardment goes away. We've got a backup copy, but opponent follows up with an Aetherborn. Well, I got some sad news then. It's Arcane Bombardment number 2. All right, good game.